might take the cake. Not a single team selecting in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft took the Colorado quarterback. The Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year and son of Deion led the FBS in completion percentage, 4th in passing yards. Just a couple months ago was in the conversation for the top pick. Heck, right before the draft started on Thursday, he was minus 600 to go in the first round, and yet he is still out there. A shock. Meanwhile, there were 3 other quarterbacks taken on day 2 of the NFL draft, including that guy, Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. First one off the board to New Orleans, making him the highest drafted quarterback to the Saints since Archie Manning over 50 years ago. 3rd round, Seattle sent a message by taking Jalen Milroe from Alabama, the 92nd pick overall. First time Seattle took a QB in the first 3 rounds since Russell Wilson in 2012. The lone non-transfer quarterback taken so far. 2 picks later, Cleveland finally came for their quarterback, going with Oregon's Dylan Gabriel, who finished a storied college career this season with the most career starts and touchdowns responsible for in FBS history. But back to Shedeur, because last night, that whole situation had Mel Kiper Jr. apoplectic.
I like to say, I think it's disgusting. I don't understand what the heck's going on with this. 5th player on my board. It's never happened before in 47 years where a player that high has dropped this far into the 4th round. A quarterback that's sitting there in round 4 with other quarterbacks being taken who aren't as good as Shedeur, aren't even close, in my opinion, in terms of accuracy, toughness. Arm strength is certainly more than good enough. I don't see, outside of not being have the rocket arm and the 4.6 speed and the big frame, the 6'3", 230-pound frame, what is he lacking? Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me. 4th round, Kirk Cousins went. 4th round, Dak Prescott went. Worked out pretty good for them. It's just that Shedeur was projected a lot higher than they were. That's why we're having this discussion.
Indeed. SportsCenter on the road, presented by Geico. We need NFL front office insider Mike Tannenbaum to come in and explain this to us and bring some sense to it. Mike, what is your reaction to 5 quarterbacks getting drafted before Shedeur Sanders?
Ryan, I am absolutely stunned. Here's a player that started 37 games, led the nation in completion percentage. He's also incredibly tough. He was sacked 94 times over 2 seasons and only missed 1 game. He was my 2nd quarterback on the board, very similar to Mel. I thought he was a 1st-round pick that could come in and start right away because of anticipation and accuracy. I cannot believe that a team in the first 3 rounds, 102 players were drafted and didn't draft Shedeur Sanders. Ryan, one of the things you have to understand is the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy. Every team has the same amount of money. Every team has the same amount of draft choices. And not one team thought that Shedeur Sanders could help them win when 5 quarterbacks have already gone. I was part of the Miami Dolphins in 2016, and we drafted Laremy Tunsil. He was the #1 guy on our board. Laremy Tunsil was a great player, a great person. He obviously hit a bump in the road, and we saw it as an unexpected opportunity. Johnny Manziel came out, a lot of questions about his background. He won in the 1st round. The fact that we're sitting here talking about the 4th round is unbelievable what has happened, given the fact that this guy's been such a good player over 37 games.
And Sanders doesn't have the kind of bumps that you're mentioning with the 2 previous guys you mentioned. And not only that, I mean, in many ways, I say it again, this was a guy who was in the conversation to be the top pick not too long ago, and now here we are. Much more from the draft coming up ahead, including where Shedeur should land, and we reveal the team that's had the best draft through 2 days. Mike, thanks so much.
A possible 1st-round pick to missing both the 2nd and 3rd round, and now we're heading into the 3rd day of the NFL draft. With that being said, where could he end up on an NFL team? Where exactly in the NFL?
The Pittsburgh Steelers make the most sense to me. Despite everything we talked about, I believe he would come in and start for them. Right now they have Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as their 2 quarterbacks. They went out and got DK Metcalf, paid him $30 million a year, gave him a 2nd-round pick. They have George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. We're looking at some great footage here. He is still very accurate. He has good arm strength. I think he would be the best quarterback the Steelers would have since Ben Roethlisberger has left them.
Yeah, a lot of people waiting to see where Shedeur Sanders will end up. And as I mentioned, you've done this for a living. So which team has put together the best draft through the first 2 days?
The Cleveland Browns, I think they got a minimum of at least 3 starters. When you think about Mason Graham, the defensive tackle for Michigan, he's going to come in right away. I think he's going to be an impact player for them. And then last night they added Carson Schwarzenegger. He should start for them at linebacker from UCLA, a former walk-on. Quinshawn Judkins, again, a very productive running back at Ohio State. But maybe most importantly, they have a 1st-round pick next year from Jacksonville. who may not be very good next year. So despite what we're seeing on the screen, add in a first-round pick of the Jaguars, I think the Browns have had an outstanding draft so far, Amina.
All right, so let's play GM here. You can go back and redo any team's picks to this point. What change are you making based off of what you've seen so far?
The Dallas Cowboys at 12 took a really good player in Tyler Booker, offensive guard, Alabama. I think he's a plug-and-play player for them. But Matthew Golden was available, the fastest receiver this year, ran 4.29 at the combine. And more importantly, Amina, he played that way. He got drafted by Green Bay later in the first round. And when you look at the Cowboys and where they are competing in the NFC East, they need to score more points consistently to compete with the Commanders and obviously the Eagles. CeeDee Lamb's outstanding. Golden would have come in and really helped this offense be more explosive. I like Booker. I love Golden. If
it means anything, I had some friends who are Cowboys fans, a big collective groan when they did hear that pick, so I will throw that out there as well. Draft continues today at noon Eastern on.
Then Dan. Marcus, then Dan.
Okay. Stephen A., you know people are going to listen to you and take this out of context. People are going to say Stephen A. believes Shedeur didn't get drafted in the first round because Prime is his dad and all of these other things that start to come out. And the whole point is, and I have a hard time bringing these certain things up, but Stephen A., you've sat longer and watched drafts than I have, and Dan have. Stephen A., Laramie Tunsil, there was a picture of Laramie Tunsil with a weed mask on.
Yeah.
The day of the draft.
I remember.
And he fell and still was taken in the first round. You know why? Because people thought he would be a stalwart left tackle, and he showed things at Ole Miss that scouts and GM said, man, I don't care. And all I'm trying to get people to understand is, and you're not wrong. There are teams, there are general managers that have taken personal vendettas against players and would not draft them. I have never seen 31 other ones look at a player and say, well, he got enough talent for me.
That's hyperbole.
I don't care.
Because you're not 31 teams didn't need a quarterback. I just gave you 4.
I
just gave you 4. That doesn't mean everybody
the other 5.
Okay, but we're saying they'll turn a blind eye to police blotters is our point. They can get over that Deion's his dad. Go ahead, Dan.
Right, yeah. So first of all, other guys that didn't get drafted last night because of some off-the-field stuff. You started to hear names from people that were in the know saying this guy's going to drop because of some of the interviews or some of the information that teams had. So it's not just solely singular to one player if that was the case. Stephen A., and I don't agree with this. I disagree with your perspective on this, that he didn't get drafted because Deion is his dad. But if that was the case, again, I don't think it was. Is that the team's fault? Is that the team's fault? Is that the organization's responsibility? No. That's not, like, they're allowed to make that decision. Again, I disagree with it. Here's the thing, Stephen. You rattled off 4 teams. You rattled off 4 teams that needed quarterbacks, that you absolutely could justify need quarterbacks, and 3 of them are like blue bloods. You're telling me the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns and the New Orleans Saints all needed quarterbacks. You can make the case that first-round pick was worthy of it, and all 4 of them chose not to for things other than outside the play?